Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp and to the episode where I look back at some games, we revisit them to see how much they've been patched up. Now this episode is actually sponsored by Gameloft, so thanks to them. The reason being, their game Disney Dreamlight Valley has had so many patches and improvements since it came out. I think we both agreed that this is the best way to showcase that, as this series is designed for publishers and developers to showcase the amount of work they've put in. Happy days. We'll also look at a couple of other games and even one that I've never spoken about before, so it should be a nice little episode. Also, if you want to support us, then there'll be links to Disney Dreamlight Valley in the description and the top pinned comment. Checking it out shows them that this was a good place to showcase the improvements. Alright, what games have been all patched up? Well, my name's Mark Walker, welcome back to SwitchUp, now let's find out. Let's kick off then with Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now, I initially reviewed this when it first came out, chiefly looking at the performance and exactly what was included in the package. Performance-wise, we were looking at 30 frames per second. Some of the time, there were quite a few drops. The visual quality had also taken a significant hit compared to other versions, but it was a fun game and I enjoyed it a lot. It's essentially like a cozy life sim, but featuring all of your favourite Disney characters. You could build wherever you wanted to. You gradually went around and rescued the other Disney characters and brought them back to this land and built up your relationships and friendships. Now it's been literal years since that video, so with the current version as of July 2024, firstly let's look at performance. Well, in terms of frame rates, you can definitely see some improvement here. 30 frames per second is much more consistent than it was. The frame pacing has also come down. So as far as frame rates go, we're definitely looking at a more stable experience. Now with that said, you will still see a few stutters and drops occasionally, but for both docked and handheld, performance is much better than it was, so that's nice to say. The next aspect is that visual quality. Now I'm not entirely sure whether it originally used dynamic resolution scaling or similar, but the visual quality was definitely lower than it is today. We've got a sharper image, there looks to be better quality across the board. It presents a much sharper and clearer image, which is great. As well as this, the original had quite a few different bugs. Now, there have been hundreds upon hundreds of bug fix updates, with the most recent in July of this year. But perhaps more interesting than this are the amount of content updates that we've had. Back in October of 22, we had the Scar's Kingdom update that added a new character Scar, new quests. There was the Toy Story themed Uncharted Space update in December. In 2023 then, we had 7 different updates, obviously free updates that added in different quest lines, different characters. There's a ton of content there from the different Disney universes and franchises. And then as of this year, well, firstly they had the Laugh Floor update, where they actually added in an option to change your name, which was a nice feature that people wanted. New characters were added from the Monsters Inc. universe. And then we had others like Daisy Duck added in later in the year, and most recently in June with the Lucky Dragon update, you got the Mulan characters, as well as other new characters in between. Now, what I'm trying to say is there has been a ton of new content added since this was first reviewed. The performance is also much improved. And to give you an idea of how the game plays, well, essentially you start out by clearing lots of the corruption that's entered the world, and at any time you can actually customize any of the areas. So you can go to an overview, place furniture, different items, you can customize your house, which starts out really shabby. And I mentioned the different friendship systems. Basically, you've got a current friendship rating, and if you build up those friendships by either giving gifts or doing little quests for people, they'll also give you different rewards. And they range from various things, including cosmetics. And yeah, don't laugh at my fashion sense. Basically, every time I find a new item, I put it on. Well, almost every time. And by completing the quests and doing just day-to-day things like mining, you can farm in here as well, so you can plant crops and things and water them. You'll gain an in-game currency that then allows you to unlock different biomes. So much of the map is initially locked off, and you don't have to spend any money to do that. You literally just gain that currency by completing those quests, which is great. Now, for those who got the original game and wanted to go a little bit further as well, you've got the Rift in Time expansion, which introduces a whole new world called Eternity Isle, which is separate from the main Dreamlight Valley game, and centers around Jafar, who's released a mysterious power that's basically torn that land into 3 different biomes. Now obviously that comes with new quests, characters and resources, as well as recipes. And on that subject, one area that I haven't mentioned really the different crafting recipes that have been added in, but there's tons that's changed in that regard since I first played. Now, the overview really for this one is that it was pretty good when it first came out. I really enjoyed the gameplay, but performance-wise, things were definitely struggling. Since then, with so many updates and bug fixes, it's a much more stable game. It looks much cleaner. Shadow resolution is higher than it was, image quality is better on Switch. All of the bug fixes and a massive amount of extra content is certainly nice. For me, it's great to see how much support has gone into this, and you know, the cozy gaming community, they have their favourites, and I think Disney Dreamlight Valley is up there. It has a massive following that still plays it, so you can be assured if you check it out, there's going to be lots of people playing online as well. And if you haven't played it in a while, there's a bunch of content for you to go and explore. For this section at least, thanks so much to Gameloft for sponsoring it. When they reached out, I said I'd be more than happy to go back and revisit the game as we do with other titles, and they like this format, so yeah. Here is the overview of Disney Dreamlight Valley, around 2 years worth of progress. Next up then, we've got Pine Hearts. Now, when Pine Hearts first launched, it did have some real performance issues. I was very surprised that it didn't even run at a consistent 30 frames per second. That was a shame, because it has that visual style that in my opinion should be running at 60. There were other issues though, like Tyke being able to get stuck in the environment. Some of the quest items were quite difficult to see, and strange visual things like not having letterbox support for 16:10 aspect ratio. Now, since then, we've had a number of updates, lots and lots of bug fixes, and in version 1.0.3, performance is certainly better. It can maintain at 30 frames per second most of the time, the image quality is fine, and they have added in support for the non-letterbox 16:10 aspect ratio. A few little quirky things like misaligned text, getting stuck in the environment, not a quirky thing, something that definitely needed to be fixed, has been sorted out. Some NPC dialogues, and in the previous update before this, they fixed some of the save issues that there were with the game. So overall, quite a few improvements. Am I a little bit disappointed that they didn't get it running at 60? I am. I certainly am. It has to be said. Obviously, if you're playing on any other platform, you'll be experiencing this in a much more smooth fashion. Does it make a huge difference to the gameplay? I don't think so, but you know, I do prefer this to run at 60. But the game itself, actually, you should definitely check it out. We didn't get to cover it too much. But although it has this lovely cutesy visual, it's a lot deeper than initially meets the eye. Quite emotive, actually. Yeah, very good game. We've seen that done quite a lot, haven't we, with these cute looking games that end up really tugging at the heartstrings. But still, it's nice to see some improvements there. Star Wars Hunters, well, that launched in a pretty good state actually, didn't it? I think we were all quite surprised. You had the locked out 30 frames per second, you had good frame pacing, visually it looked quite nice, the online aspects worked very well. It did present itself like a mobile game in terms of its menus, which was really quite annoying, I have to say. It's just too much for the Switch in my opinion. But one of the most egregious issues that I had with the game was the in-game currency that you earned, the gold coins, didn't actually do anything, like at all. You couldn't buy anything with it. It was just ridiculous. And then they split out the other currencies so that you couldn't just get one or the other. It was either real money to buy skins, or it was those purple gem things. Yeah, it just feels a bit not great. Now, with the latest update, they've introduced a new character, which is KAOS, Chaos, a tank class unit. So we have another tank in the lineup. It's obviously season 2. So with that comes the new pass. Quite a few balance updates. The Sentinel has been nerfed quite a bit. You'll find a full list of the different tweaks. They're only slight, they're not massive nerfs, but there are quite a few tweaks to the different characters. They've added in the rank mode, which has its own tab along the top. And I guess the most important, the biggest change is the new map. That's Vader's castle, which looks very cool. Perhaps not an arena that many were expecting, and allows them, I guess, to kind of play on some of the written material and general ideas around Vader. But it's, yeah, not too bad. The biggest change, I guess, aside from these, is the fact that there's now actually stuff to spend your gold coins on. Albeit it's mainly just cosmetic. At least now we can actually use it. It just felt ridiculous. You were getting no rewards at all that you could actually, you know, well, that's not true. You could get some rewards, but you couldn't actually buy anything. So now we can do that. There's also a booster for the Game Pass, the Battle Pass, whatever it's called, you can buy using your gold coins. So there we go. Performance-wise, it's very much the same. It runs the same. It looks the same, which is decent, except we have that new map. So that's Star Wars Hunters. So that's it for this special episode. Hopefully some nice little updates there that you've been keeping your eye on. But that big sponsorship from Disney Dreamlight Valley is pretty epic, really. It's nice that developers have been watching this series and have basically decided that it's a good way of showcasing the improvements they've made to their games. Especially so in the case of games like Dreamlight Valley, where it released in an okay state and they've just made it better and better over the years. So what I'll do is I'll pop links to that one down in the description, the top pinned comment. If you're interested in it, go check it out. And if you do play it, let me know how you're getting on. Thanks to our Patreons and members, all of you that enjoy the content, and obviously the sponsor of this video. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!